She replaced her cousin at the airport pickup and picked up a Millionaire CEO by mistake. Hello everyone, before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's dive into the story. The soft hum of conversation filled the air as Emma stood in the crowded airport terminal, nervously clutching her phone. She had been waiting for what seemed like forever, trying to calm her nerves for the blind date that her best friend Jenny had set up. Emma was never one for blind dates, but after some coaxing, she finally agreed. She had hoped it would be a simple meeting, no pressure, just an easy dinner and conversation. But as she glanced around, her stomach knotted with anxiety. She felt out of place in this fancy restaurant, her second-hand dress and scuffed shoes making her feel like she didn't belong. I can do this, she muttered to herself, taking a deep breath and scanning the crowd. Just then, she spotted him, standing alone by the baggage claim. He was tall, dressed in a sleek, tailored suit, his dark hair neatly styled. For a moment, Emma froze. This couldn't be him. She was supposed to meet someone named Kevin, not this tall, handsome man who looked like he belonged in a magazine ad. But there was no time to second-guess herself. She was already there, and she was already committed. With a tentative step forward, she walked up to him, her heart racing. "Hi, you must be Kevin." "I'm Emma," she said, trying to sound confident, even though her voice shook slightly. The man looked up at her, clearly confused for a moment. Hi Emma," he said, raising an eyebrow. "I'm Liam, actually." Emma's face went crimson. She had mistaken him for someone else. The awkwardness hung in the air, thick enough to cut with a knife. "Oh no," she blurted out, her hand flying to her mouth. "I'm so sorry. I thought you were someone else. This is so embarrassing." Liam chuckled softly, clearly not offended. "No worries," he said, giving her a reassuring smile. "I guess we're both in the wrong place then." Emma laughed nervously, feeling the heat of her embarrassment still creeping up her neck. She had come to this restaurant expecting a quiet, uneventful evening, but now she was sitting across from a complete stranger, who, by the way, was incredibly attractive and wearing a designer suit. As they sat down, the conversation started off awkwardly, both of them trying to break the ice. But slowly, they started to talk about their lives, their interests, and their struggles. Emma was surprised by how easy it felt to talk to him. She had expected the usual small talk, the kind where you had to force every word, but with Liam, it was different. He listened to her like he actually cared about what she had to say. He didn't try to impress her with stories of his success or wealth. Instead, he seemed genuinely interested in her thoughts, her dreams, and her life. By the end of the dinner, Emma realized something. Despite the awkward beginning, despite all the mistakes she had made, she felt a spark between them. Something that went beyond a simple blind date. She didn't know if it was just the shared moment of embarrassment or something more, but there was something about him that felt different. Maybe it was the way he made her feel at ease, or how he listened to her without judgment. She couldn't quite put her finger on it, but she knew that this wasn't just a casual dinner anymore. Something was shifting. As they walked out of the restaurant together, Emma couldn't stop thinking about the night. Liam had been kind, thoughtful, and real, everything she hadn't expected. And as they exchanged goodbyes, she felt an unexpected sense of disappointment. She had enjoyed their conversation more than she thought she would. She wasn't sure where this was going, but for the first time in a long while, she felt like maybe, just maybe, things were starting to change for her. Emma had always kept her guard up, unwilling to let anyone get too close. But with Liam, she felt like she could trust him. She didn't know why, but she was starting to believe that maybe there was more to this than a simple misunderstanding. And as she walked away, she found herself looking back, just once, to see if he was still watching her. He was. And for the first time in a long time, Emma smiled to herself, thinking that maybe this blind date wasn't such a mistake after all. It was the following morning when Emma couldn't get the image of the man at the restaurant out of her head. She had spent the entire night replaying the events in her mind, embarrassed, laughing at herself, and feeling oddly drawn to the mysterious man she'd mistaken for someone else. Liam Parker, she thought. The name sounded so familiar, but she couldn't quite place where she had heard it before. She groaned, sitting up in bed and reaching for her phone. As if on cue, her phone buzzed with a notification. Jenny had messaged her, "You okay? You seemed kinda out of it last night. Was Kevin that bad?" Emma smiled at her friend's casual tone but couldn't help feeling a little guilty. Jenny had been setting up this date for weeks, and here she was, running out on her potential match in the most embarrassing way possible. With a sigh, Emma typed a quick reply, "Not Kevin, apparently. And yeah, definitely not my finest moment." She paused before adding, "But something about him seemed different." Jenny responded almost immediately, "Different how? Was he cute?" Emma rolled her eyes. "I guess. But I think I messed it up completely." Jenny's response was immediate again, "Well, if you didn't run off, maybe you'd get a chance to find out." Emma let out a deep sigh and tossed her phone aside. She wasn't ready to think about Liam Parker again, not after how awkward everything had been. She grabbed her jacket and headed out the door, trying to focus on her day. But even as she walked down the street, her thoughts kept returning to him. He had been so calm, so collected, even when she had made the most ridiculous mistake. It was hard to shake the feeling that something about that moment was important. As Emma was walking to her job, something caught her eye. She stopped and stared at a huge billboard for a charity gala coming up in a few days. The headline read, "Gala of the Year, A Night with Liam Parker, CEO of Tech Innovations." Emma's heart skipped a beat as she realized that the man she had met last night wasn't just some random guy. He was the CEO of a major tech company. She didn't know what to think. Why hadn't he corrected her when she sat down? Why hadn't he mentioned who he really was? 1,000 questions raced through her mind as she continued walking. Her phone buzzed again, pulling her back from her thoughts. It was another message from Jenny, "Don't tell me you're still thinking about him." Emma paused for a second, considering how to respond. "I'm not thinking about him, okay? It was just a mistake. I'll probably never see him again anyway." She pressed send quickly, almost as if trying to convince herself. She didn't expect a reply, but Jenny's message popped up seconds later, "Okay, but what if you do?" Emma frowned. "What do you mean?" Jenny responded, "I mean, what if he's someone important? What if this wasn't a mistake? Maybe you should go to the gala, just to see." Emma shook her head at her phone. There was no way she was going to that gala. The idea of showing up, knowing how embarrassing it would be if Liam was there, made her stomach turn. But as she walked, she couldn't shake the feeling that Jenny might be right. Maybe it wasn't just a mistake. Maybe it was fate. That night, Emma lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, the thought of the gala nagging at her. Could she really face Liam again after what had happened? The next morning, Emma had a decision to make. She wasn't sure what had gotten into her, but after much hesitation, she found herself standing in front of her closet, picking out the best dress she could find, one that was simple but elegant. It wasn't much, but she knew it would have to do. She didn't expect anything to come from going, but something about the possibility of seeing him again made her feel a little bit excited. Maybe this time, she wouldn't mess things up. As the night of the gala arrived, Emma stood in front of the venue, heart pounding in her chest. The building was towering, glowing with lights and filled with people dressed in tuxedos and evening gowns. She felt out of place, but a part of her was determined to see this through. She checked her phone again. Jenny had already messaged her. "Are you there yet?" Emma laughed nervously and typed back, "Just got here. I'll let you know how it goes." She stepped into the gala, taking in the lavish decorations and the bustling crowd. She felt like a fish out of water, her nerves growing as she walked through the crowd. As she made her way deeper into the event, she was nearly overwhelmed by the luxurious atmosphere and the people around her. She could hardly believe she was here, surrounded by wealthy businessmen and women, but still, her mind kept wandering back to one person. She spotted a familiar face. Liam. He was standing across the room, talking to a group of people, his posture confident, but there was something in his eyes, a hint of recognition, maybe. She froze. Should she approach him? Her heart raced, but she took a deep breath and made her way toward him. She wasn't sure why she felt this way, but for some reason, she needed to know more. She had to know if there was more to their encounter than just a mistaken blind date. As she walked up to him, Liam's eyes flicked to hers, a small smile playing at his lips. "I wasn't expecting to see you here," he said. Emma froze for a moment, unsure of what to say. Finally, she managed, "Yeah, well, I wasn't expecting to be here either." Liam's smile widened as he stepped closer to her. "It's good to see you again, Emma. I'm glad you came." Emma's heart skipped a beat. This was it. There was no turning back now. Emma stood there, frozen for a second, as Liam's smile widened. He looked so at ease, so confident in this environment, while she felt completely out of place. She had expected to be invisible, to be another face in the crowd, but somehow, Liam had noticed her. It made her feel both nervous and strangely empowered at the same time. "It's good to see you again, Emma." "I'm glad you came," Liam said, his voice warm, yet there was something in his tone that suggested he wasn't just being polite. Emma managed a smile, though she could feel the heat rising to her cheeks. "Yeah, well, I wasn't exactly planning on being here," she replied, her voice tinged with nervous laughter. Liam chuckled softly, his eyes studying her for a moment, as if trying to figure her out. "I'm glad you're here," he said. Again, his gaze not leaving her face. Emma felt a strange flutter in her stomach. She wasn't sure why she had come to this gala. She wasn't expecting to make any lasting connections, let alone run into Liam again, but now that she was here, she couldn't deny the pull she felt toward him. They stood in an awkward silence for a moment, the sounds of clinking glasses and murmurs of conversation filling the background, before Liam spoke again. "Are you enjoying the event so far?" he asked, his tone casual but kind. Emma looked around at the lavish decorations, the glittering chandeliers hanging from the ceiling, the elegantly dressed guests mingling around them. "It's impressive, to say the least," she said, laughing softly, trying to make light of the situation. "I feel like I'm in a completely different world." Liam smiled knowingly. "Yeah, I get that a lot," he said. "But don't let all this fancy stuff intimidate you. Everyone here is just trying to make connections, same as anyone else." Emma nodded, feeling slightly reassured, but still out of her depth. "I'm not sure I belong here," she said honestly. "I'm just a waitress, you know? Not exactly the type of person these people would normally be talking to." Liam raised an eyebrow, clearly intrigued. "Is that so?" he asked, taking a step closer to her. "I would have never guessed. You seem much more at ease than most people I know in this room." Emma felt a little flustered by his words, unsure of how to respond. "I guess I'm just used to faking it," she said with a slight shrug. Liam laughed lightly, his eyes softening as he regarded her. "Well, I can tell you're doing a good job of it. But Emma, if you ever feel like you don't belong here, just know you're not the only one. I sometimes feel the same way, even though this is my world." Emma looked up at him, surprised. "You?" she asked, a little skeptical. "Yeah, me," Liam said, his smile fading for a moment, replaced by a more serious expression. "It's not always easy, you know? People see the success, the wealth, and they think it's all just easy. But it comes with its own set of challenges. Expectations, pressure, sometimes it feels like I'm just a walking suit and tie to everyone else." Emma listened closely, noticing the vulnerability in his voice. She never expected someone like Liam to feel that way, but now, hearing him speak so candidly, she realized that maybe they weren't so different after all. "I never thought of it like that," she admitted. "I guess I always assumed people with money have it all figured out." Liam's expression softened. I don't know if anyone has it all figured out. We're all just doing the best we can. The sincerity in his words caught Emma off guard, and for the first time since she had arrived, she felt like maybe she wasn't as out of place as she had thought. You're right, she said, her voice quiet. Maybe we're all just trying to find our way. Liam gave her a small, understanding smile. Exactly, he said, nodding. And sometimes, it takes a little bit of courage to put yourself in new situations, to step outside your comfort zone. Like coming here tonight, for example. Emma's heart skipped a beat as his words sank in. Was he suggesting that her coming to the gala was a brave decision? That maybe this whole evening wasn't as big of a mistake as she had thought? I'm glad you came, Liam said again, his eyes locking with hers. Emma felt her nerves settle a little, replaced by something warmer, something that made her realize just how much she appreciated his kindness. Thank you, she said softly, meeting his gaze. For a moment, there was a quiet understanding between them. It was like the whole room had faded away, and all that was left was this unexpected connection. Before either of them could say anything else, a voice called out from behind them. Liam! There you are! A man walked up, hand extended, and Liam immediately turned to greet him. Emma took a step back, feeling like an intruder once again. I'll catch up with you later, Emma, Liam said quickly, his tone still warm. It was nice seeing you again. Emma nodded, a little breathless. Yeah, you too. As Liam turned away to join his colleague, Emma watched him go, her heart still racing in her chest. What was happening here? She had never imagined that a simple mistake, a blind date gone wrong, would lead her to this moment. But now, as she stood there in the middle of the glamorous gala, she realized that maybe fate had a way of throwing people together in the most unexpected ways. The evening at the gala seemed to pass in a blur for Emma, but one thing was clear, her thoughts kept drifting back to Liam. After their brief conversation, she had made her way through the event, but no matter how hard she tried to focus on the glamorous surroundings, her mind kept returning to him. She couldn't shake the feeling that there was something between them, something deeper than just a random encounter. Emma tried to push the thought away. She wasn't here to get involved with someone like Liam. He was a millionaire CEO, and she was just a waitress. But as the night wore on, she couldn't ignore the way she felt drawn to him. When the event began to wind down, Emma was standing near the exit, looking around for her purse, when she felt a tap on her shoulder. She turned, her heart skipping a beat, and there he was, Liam, looking just as effortless and charming as ever. Emma, he said with a small smile, his voice warm, I'm glad you stayed. I didn't think I'd get the chance to talk to you again tonight. Emma blinked, surprised by his words. I wasn't sure if I should stay, she admitted. But I'm glad I did. Liam stepped closer, his expression softening. I'm glad too, he said. I've been thinking about our conversation earlier. It's not often I get to talk to someone who isn't focused on business or social status. Emma looked up at him, her pulse quickening. I get it. I'm not really into all that stuff either, she said, surprised by how easy it was to talk to him. I'm trying to make my own way, you know. Liam nodded, his gaze intense. I admire that. It's refreshing to meet someone who's genuine, who doesn't expect anything just because of who I am. Emma felt her chest tighten at his words, but she tried to stay composed. I don't expect anything, she said, her voice steady, except maybe, to be treated like a normal person. There was a moment of silence as Liam seemed to absorb her words, and then he smiled again, this time with more warmth. You are normal, Emma, he said softly. At least to me. Her heart skipped a beat at the sincerity in his voice, and for a moment, the world around her seemed to fade. The sounds of laughter and chatter from the other guests, the clinking of glasses, it all disappeared as she looked into Liam's eyes. There was something about him, something that made her feel seen, something she hadn't felt in a long time. The moment stretched between them, charged with a quiet tension, before Liam broke the silence. Listen, I'm glad we met, Emma. And I'd like to get to know you better, outside of all this," he said, gesturing around the lavish event. "How about we grab a coffee sometime?" Emma felt a flutter of excitement, but also hesitation. She hadn't expected him to say something like that. She wasn't sure what to make of it. But before she could respond, a voice interrupted them. "Liam! There you are, I've been looking all over for you." Emma turned to see a woman in a sleek black dress approaching, her smile polite but sharp. Liam turned to face her, his expression shifting slightly as he greeted her. "Maya," he said, his tone cordial. "What's up?" The woman, Maya, glanced briefly at Emma before turning back to Liam. "We need to discuss the project details." "You've been gone for too long," she said, her voice just a bit too insistent. Emma felt a pang of discomfort, but she tried not to show it. She had no right to feel jealous, but the woman's presence made her feel like an outsider. Liam gave Emma a quick smile. "I'll be right back, I promise," he said. "I'll catch up with you soon." Emma nodded, forcing a smile. "Of course," she said, though she could already feel the tension building inside her. As Liam turned and walked off with Maya, Emma's mind began to race. Who was this woman? Was she someone important to Liam? She couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to Liam's life than he was letting on, and she wasn't sure if she was ready to deal with it. She took a deep breath and reminded herself that she wasn't here to make assumptions. She didn't know anything about Liam's personal life, and she certainly wasn't going to jump to conclusions. Still, she couldn't help but feel a little uneasy. As the night drew to a close, Emma found herself walking out of the gala, her mind a whirlwind of thoughts. The evening had been a whirlwind too, full of unexpected twists and turns. She had come here thinking it would be just another event, something she could get through, but now she was leaving with more questions than answers. Was Liam interested in her, or was this just some passing fancy for him? And if he was interested, was she really ready to take that step? As she stepped out into the cool night air, she paused for a moment, staring up at the stars. She didn't have the answers yet, but for the first time in a long time, she felt like maybe she was finally on the verge of something more. Something real. The following week, Emma found herself thinking about Liam more than she'd like to admit. It wasn't that she had planned to dwell on him, but after the gala, something had shifted. It was subtle, like a soft pull at the back of her mind. Every time she tried to focus on her work or her daily life, her thoughts would drift back to the brief moments she had shared with him. She kept telling herself it was nothing, just a chance encounter, a brief connection that didn't mean anything. But it was hard to shake off the way he had looked at her, the way he had made her feel seen, even when she hadn't expected it. Emma was sitting at her favorite cafe, sipping on a coffee, when her phone buzzed. It was a text from Jenny. "So, what's the deal with Liam? You've been quiet lately." Emma rolled her eyes, but a small smile tugged at the corner of her lips. She quickly typed back, "He's just some guy, Jenny. I'm not looking for anything." A moment later, Jenny replied, Sure. Just some guy who's a millionaire CEO? Come on, tell me everything." Emma laughed softly, shaking her head. She hadn't told Jenny about their conversation at the gala, mostly because she wasn't sure what to make of it herself. But now, the curiosity was eating away at her. Okay, she typed back, "We talked for a bit. He's different. But I don't know. I don't think anything's going to happen." Jenny's response came quickly, "You can't leave me hanging like this. You have to text him. What's the worst that could happen?" Emma stared at the text, her heart racing slightly. Was Jenny right? Should she just reach out to him? The idea of texting a billionaire CEO was a little daunting, but something inside her felt like it was worth a try. She glanced at the time on her phone and saw that it was nearly noon. With a sigh, she typed a quick message to Liam, "Hey, it's Emma from the gala. I hope you're doing well. Just wanted to say thanks for the conversation the other night. It was nice to meet you." She paused for a moment before hitting send, her stomach turning as soon as she did. What if he didn't remember her? What if he thought she was just another girl trying to get his attention? Before she could second-guess herself, her phone buzzed again. It was a message from Liam. "Hey Emma, I remember you well. I've been thinking about our chat too. Would you like to grab that coffee I mentioned sometime this week? Let me know what works for you." Emma's heart skipped a beat. He remembered her. He actually wanted to meet up. She stared at the message, unable to believe what she was reading. After a few moments of hesitation, she quickly typed back, "I'd love that. How about Thursday afternoon?" She pressed send before she could think too much about it. The excitement bubbling up inside her was too much to ignore. Liam's response came almost immediately, "Thursday sounds perfect. I'll pick you up at 2. Emma felt a rush of warmth spread through her at the thought of him actually picking her up. She quickly texted back, "Sounds great. See you then." She set her phone down and leaned back in her chair, her mind racing. She hadn't expected to hear from him again, let alone make plans to meet up. The idea of seeing him again, outside of the gala, made her heart beat faster. Was this the beginning of something, or was she just fooling herself? She shook her head, trying to quiet the doubt in her mind. She didn't have all the answers, but maybe, just maybe, this could turn into something more. As the week passed, Emma found herself counting down the days until Thursday. Every time she thought about it, she felt both excited and nervous. What would it be like to actually sit down with Liam? Away from the glitz and glamour of the gala? What would they talk about? Would the chemistry they had felt the other night still be there? The day finally arrived, and Emma was a bundle of nerves. She had carefully chosen her outfit, a simple dress and cardigan, nothing too fancy, but it made her feel comfortable. She checked her phone one last time before heading out the door, making sure she had everything she needed. When she stepped outside, she saw Liam's sleek black car parked at the curb, his figure standing next to it, looking just as effortlessly handsome as he had at the gala. Her breath caught in her throat as she walked toward him. Liam's eyes lit up when he saw her. "Hey, Emma," he said, his voice warm. "You look great." Emma smiled, feeling a little shy under his gaze. "Thanks, you too," she replied, her heart fluttering. Liam opened the car door for her, and Emma slid into the passenger seat, feeling both giddy and nervous. As they drove to the cafe, they chatted casually about their week, about work, and about the things they had been up to. But it wasn't long before the conversation turned more personal, and Emma found herself opening up in ways she hadn't expected. She told him about her dream of opening an art studio, how she had always wanted to pursue painting, but had never had the opportunity to truly dedicate herself to it. Liam listened intently, his eyes never leaving her face, and Emma felt like she could talk to him forever. There was something about him that made her feel comfortable, something that made her believe maybe this could be the start of something real. As they settled into a cozy corner of the cafe, Emma felt a strange mix of calm and excitement. It was just coffee, a casual meeting, but somehow it felt like more. She had spent the past few days trying to push aside the thoughts of Liam, but now, sitting across from him, everything seemed to fall into place. She realized that she had been holding back, not just from him, but from herself. She had convinced herself that this was just a fleeting moment, that nothing could come from it. But as she listened to Liam talk about his work and his life, the barriers she had built around herself began to crumble. "So, what's your story?" Liam asked, his tone genuinely curious. "What made you decide to pursue art, even when it feels like it's out of reach?" Emma took a deep breath, her fingers lightly tracing the edge of her coffee cup. She had never really talked about her passion for painting with anyone before. It was always something she kept to herself, something that felt too far out of her reach to truly pursue. "I've always loved it," she began, her voice soft. "But life sort of got in the way. I've been working since I was 16, trying to pay bills, help my family. Art was something I used to do when I had free time, but that's never really been much." She paused for a moment, gathering her thoughts. "And then I realized, I was so focused on surviving that I stopped dreaming. I stopped thinking about what I really wanted." Liam listened carefully, his eyes never leaving hers, and Emma felt something inside her stir. It was rare that she opened up like this, but with him, it felt almost natural. I used to want to open my own studio, create a place where people could experience art the way I do. But I guess I never really believed it was possible. Liam smiled, a slow, thoughtful smile, before speaking. I think it's possible, Emma. I think you just need to believe in it, and you need someone to support you. The sincerity in his voice caught Emma off guard. She wasn't sure if he was just being polite, but something about his words felt genuine. It wasn't just about the business side of things. There was a depth to him that she hadn't fully realized before. I've always wanted to make a difference, Liam continued, his tone becoming more reflective. But I've been so focused on building my company, on climbing the ladder, that I've forgotten why I started in the first place. I want to do more than just make money. Emma studied him, noticing the change in his demeanor. He seemed different, almost vulnerable in a way he hadn't been before. And what is it you want to do? She asked, genuinely curious. Liam leaned forward slightly, his voice lowering a bit, as if sharing a secret. I want to help people realize their potential, like you. I want to give back, whether it's supporting a cause or helping someone follow their dreams. Emma's heart skipped a beat. He wasn't just talking about business or success, he was talking about something deeper, something meaningful. That's really admirable, she said quietly, feeling a spark of admiration for him. I think a lot of people forget that success isn't just about the numbers, you know. Liam nodded, his eyes locking with hers. Exactly. It's about creating something that lasts, something that impacts others in a positive way. The silence between them was comfortable, the kind of silence that only comes when two people truly understand each other. Emma smiled, feeling a connection she hadn't expected. She didn't know where this was going, but for the first time in a long while, she felt like it could be something real. After a few moments, Liam leaned back in his chair, a playful glint in his eye. So, when do I get to see some of your artwork? He asked, his tone light but interested. Emma laughed softly, feeling a little shy. Well, I'm not exactly Picasso, she said with a small smile. But I have a few sketches I've been working on. Liam raised an eyebrow, clearly intrigued. I'm sure they're better than you're giving yourself credit for. How about this, if I help you get your studio started, you promise to let me see your art? Emma's eyes widened in surprise. Wait, what? You'd help me with that? Liam smiled, the same warm, encouraging smile she had seen at the gala. Why not? If you're serious about it, I think it's worth supporting. Plus, I know a few people who could help you get things off the ground. Emma was speechless. She had never imagined that a casual coffee meeting could lead to an offer like this. Liam was offering to help her follow her dreams, something she had never thought possible. I don't know what to say, she whispered, still in disbelief. You don't have to say anything yet, Liam said, his voice reassuring. Just think about it. And if you're open to it, we can talk more. Emma took a deep breath, the weight of his words settling in. She had spent so long thinking that her dreams were out of reach, that they didn't matter. But now, sitting across from Liam, she realized that maybe, just maybe, she had been wrong. Maybe it was time to take a chance, to follow what had always been in her heart. Thank you, Liam, she said softly. Really? I don't know what to say, but thank you. Liam gave her a smile that was both reassuring and sincere. You don't have to thank me yet. Just know I believe in you. Emma's heart swelled with emotion as she looked at him, realizing that this was just the beginning of something that could change her life forever. In the weeks that followed, Emma couldn't stop thinking about the conversation she had with Liam. The coffee meeting had felt like a turning point, a moment when everything she thought she knew about herself and her dreams had started to shift. Liam's offer to help her get her art studio off the ground felt surreal, like a dream she had been too afraid to chase before. For the first time in her life, she could see a path forward that didn't feel impossible. But as much as she wanted to take him up on his offer, Emma was still hesitant. She had been on her own for so long, relying only on herself to make ends meet. The idea of accepting help, especially from someone like Liam, felt like she was stepping into an entirely new world. It wasn't that she didn't trust him, she did. But part of her wondered if this was all too good to be true. Was Liam really offering to help her because he cared about her, or was it just because he saw potential in her as an artist? These doubts lingered in her mind, clouding her thoughts every time she considered his offer. She spent the next few days weighing the pros and cons, trying to figure out what to do. It wasn't easy. Her heart told her that she should go for it, that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, but her mind kept pulling her back, reminding her of all the risks involved. Then one evening, while she was sitting at home, staring at a blank canvas in front of her, her phone buzzed. It was a message from Liam. "Hey, I've been thinking about you and your studio idea. I know a place that could be perfect for you. Let me know if you want to check it out." Emma's heart skipped a beat as she read the message. There it was again, the same sense of encouragement and belief that had drawn her to him in the first place. She couldn't ignore it any longer. Maybe it was time to take the leap. She quickly typed a reply, "I'd love to see it. When can we go?" The response came almost immediately, "How about tomorrow at 3? I'll pick you up." Emma felt a rush of excitement mixed with nervousness. She had no idea what to expect, but the thought of seeing a potential space for her studio was enough to keep her motivated. The next day, she stood in front of her apartment building, waiting for Liam to pick her up. When his sleek black car pulled up, she couldn't help but smile. It was hard to believe that just a few weeks ago, she had no idea who this man was, and now, here she was, about to take a step closer to turning her dream into a reality. Liam greeted her with a warm smile as she got into the car. "You ready for this?" he asked, his tone light but filled with encouragement. "I'm as ready as I'll ever be," Emma replied, her nerves easing a little as she looked at him. He looked calm, confident, as if he knew everything was going to work out. They drove through the city, talking casually about their lives and their plans, but Emma could sense that Liam was excited for her, too. He had been so supportive, and she couldn't help but feel that this was more than just business for him. As they arrived at the location, Emma's breath caught in her throat. The building was even better than she had imagined. It was a spacious, open-concept space with high ceilings and large windows that let in plenty of natural light. The kind of place where creativity could truly thrive. Emma's mind raced with possibilities as she stepped inside, her eyes scanning the room. "What do you think?" Liam asked, watching her with a knowing look in his eyes. "It's perfect," she whispered, almost in disbelief. She could already imagine the art pieces she would create, the workshops she would hold, and the people who would walk through the door, drawn by the energy of the space. "This could actually happen," she added softly, her voice filled with awe. Liam smiled, stepping closer to her. "I knew you'd like it. Now it's just about making it happen." Emma turned to him, her heart swelling with gratitude. "I don't even know how to thank you for this," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "You've already done so much. This is everything I've ever wanted." Liam's smile softened as he looked at her. "You don't need to thank me. I believe in you, Emma. I'm just helping you make it real." In that moment, Emma realized that this wasn't just about the studio or the offer of help, it was about the belief Liam had in her. He wasn't just giving her a space, he was giving her the confidence to believe in herself, to chase her dreams without fear. She felt a wave of emotion wash over her as she looked at him, and for the first time in a long time, she felt like everything was possible. "Let's do this," she said, her voice steady with newfound determination. "Let's make this happen." Liam nodded, his eyes shining with pride. "I knew you'd say that." They spent the next few hours discussing the details, making plans, and imagining what the future would look like. As the sun began to set, Emma felt a sense of peace she hadn't known in years. She was on the verge of something incredible, and it was all starting to come together. She didn't know what the future held, but for the first time, she was ready to embrace it. Ready to take the leap. And with Liam's support, she knew she wasn't alone. The following months flew by in a whirlwind of activity. Emma had thrown herself into the process of transforming the space Liam had shown her into the art studio of her dreams. With Liam's support, not just financially but emotionally, she was making progress faster than she had ever thought possible. The walls that had once felt so insurmountable, the doubts that had plagued her, were slowly being replaced with a sense of purpose and determination. She had found herself again, the passion for painting she had long buried coming back to life with every brushstroke. But as her studio began to take shape, so did her feelings for Liam. She tried to tell herself that it was just gratitude, just admiration for someone who had given her this incredible opportunity. But deep down, she knew it was more than that. There was something about the way Liam looked at her, the way he supported her, that made her feel seen, valued. It was a feeling she had never experienced before, and it terrified her. What if it wasn't real? What if it was just her projecting her feelings of gratitude onto him? She didn't want to make things complicated, especially not when everything was finally falling into place. But no matter how hard she tried to push her feelings aside, they only grew stronger. She found herself thinking about Liam at the strangest times, when she was painting, when she was planning her next step for the studio, even when she was alone in her apartment late at night. The thoughts of him were constant, and they made her heart race in a way she didn't know how to handle. One evening, after a long day of setting up the studio, Emma was in the middle of preparing a new canvas when she got a message from Liam. "How's the studio coming along?" the text read. She smiled as she picked up her phone, quickly typing back, "It's coming together. Slowly, but surely. I still can't believe this is really happening." A few moments later, Liam replied, "I knew you could do it. You've got the drive, the talent. It's all falling into place." Emma felt a warmth spread through her at his words. She couldn't deny it, he made her feel like she could do anything. "Thanks, Liam," she typed back. "I really couldn't have done it without your help." There was a brief pause before Liam's next message came through, "I'm really proud of you, Emma. You've come a long way." Emma's heart skipped a beat. She hadn't expected him to say that. She quickly typed a reply, "I'm proud of myself too. For the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm really moving forward." Liam's response was almost immediate, "You should be. I've always believed in you." Emma read the words again, a smile tugging at her lips. It was that simple belief, that unwavering support, that made everything feel possible. But she knew there was more to it than that. There was a part of her that had always wondered if Liam saw her as more than just someone he wanted to help. As much as she tried to ignore it, the connection between them felt undeniable. She had felt it from the very first moment they had met, when she had mistaken him for a stranger at the airport. Now, the chemistry between them was undeniable. But Emma didn't know how to approach it. She had never been good at expressing her feelings, especially not when it came to someone like Liam. Was it too soon? Was she reading too much into their interactions? As if on cue, her phone buzzed again. This time, it was a call from Liam. She hesitated for a moment before answering. "Hey, Liam," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Hey, Emma," Liam said, his voice warm as always. "I was wondering if you'd like to join me for dinner tonight. We can celebrate how far you've come with the studio." Emma's heart raced at the invitation. She hadn't expected this, and part of her wanted to refuse, to avoid any complications. But another part of her, the part that had been drawn to him from the start, couldn't resist. "I'd love to," she said, her voice soft. "Great," Liam said. "I'll pick you up at 7. "Sounds perfect," Emma replied, trying to steady her nerves. She hung up the phone and stood there for a moment, her thoughts racing. What was this? Was it just a friendly dinner, or was it something more? She wasn't sure, but she couldn't deny the flutter of excitement in her chest. As she got ready for dinner, Emma couldn't help but wonder where this would go. She had been so focused on building her studio, on following her dreams, that she hadn't stopped to consider what might be waiting for her outside of her work. But now, with Liam showing up in her life more and more, the lines between her dreams and her feelings had started to blur. She finished getting ready and waited for Liam to arrive, her mind racing. When the doorbell rang, her heart skipped a beat. She took a deep breath and opened the door to find Liam standing there, dressed in a sharp suit, his smile genuine and warm. "You look stunning," he said, his eyes scanning her with admiration. Emma felt her cheeks warm at the compliment. "Thank you," she said softly. "You look pretty great yourself." Liam laughed lightly and offered her his arm. "Shall we?" he asked. Emma took a deep breath and nodded, her heart racing as she stepped outside with him, unsure of where this night might lead, but feeling more alive than she had in a long time. As they sat down for dinner at a quiet, intimate restaurant, Emma couldn't help but feel a sense of anticipation building in her chest. She had spent so many years keeping her distance from her own emotions, building walls around herself to protect her heart. But tonight, with Liam sitting across from her, something was different. She felt vulnerable in a way she hadn't in years. Liam, as always, was calm and confident, his easy smile never faltering. He ordered a bottle of wine for them to share, and as the waiter poured their glasses, he raised his to her. "To new beginnings," he said, his voice sincere. Emma clinked her glass against his, her heart fluttering at the thought. "To new beginnings," she echoed, her smile soft. The conversation flowed easily, just like it always did when they were together. They talked about their dreams, their hopes, their challenges, and everything in between. It was like they were in their own little world, and the rest of the noise faded away. As the evening went on, Emma couldn't help but notice the way Liam looked at her. There was something in his eyes, a warmth, a depth that made her feel seen in a way she had never experienced before. She realized then that she had been falling for him, and it wasn't just gratitude for all that he had done for her. It was real. She had tried to deny it, to push it aside, but the connection between them was undeniable. After the main course, as they waited for dessert, the conversation turned quieter, more personal. Liam leaned forward slightly, his eyes locking with hers. "Emma," he said softly, his voice steady, "I've been thinking a lot about you lately." "About us?" Emma's heart skipped a beat. She had a feeling she knew where this was going, but she wasn't sure if she was ready to hear it. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Liam took a deep breath, his expression serious yet gentle. "I don't want to make things complicated, but I can't help how I feel. I care about you, Emma. More than I ever thought I could care about someone." Emma's breath caught in her throat. She felt the weight of his words settle into her chest, and for a moment, she couldn't speak. She had never imagined that Liam, the successful CEO, could feel the same way she did. She had convinced herself that this was just a friendship, that she was just someone he was helping. But now, in the quiet of the restaurant, with the soft glow of the candles between them, she realized it was something more. "I care about you too," she finally said, her voice trembling slightly. "I've been trying to ignore it, to tell myself it's just gratitude or something else. But the truth is, I think I've been falling for you too." Liam's face softened, a smile breaking through the seriousness of the moment. He reached across the table, his hand gently resting on hers. "I'm glad to hear you say that," he said, his thumb brushing lightly over her hand. "I've been waiting for you to feel the same way." Emma felt her heart swell in her chest as she looked at him, really looked at him, for the first time. There was no facade, no business persona, just Liam. Just the man who had believed in her when no one else had, the man who had seen her potential even when she couldn't see it herself. "What now?" Emma asked, her voice barely a whisper, as if the question itself was fragile. "Now, we take it one step at a time," Liam said, his voice calm but certain. "I don't have all the answers, but I know that I want to be here with you. Whatever that looks like." Emma smiled, feeling the weight of his words sink into her heart. She wasn't sure where this would lead, but for the first time, she was ready to find out. The rest of the evening passed in a comfortable silence as they finished their meal and talked more about the future, about their lives, their dreams, and everything that felt possible now. When they finally left the restaurant, Liam walked her to her door, his hand lingering on the small of her back as they stood together for a moment. "I'll see you soon, Emma," he said, his voice soft. "Good night, Liam," she replied, feeling a warmth spread through her as she looked up at him. As she stepped inside and closed the door behind her, Emma leaned against it for a moment, letting out a long breath. She had no idea where this journey would take her, but she knew one thing for sure: with Liam by her side, she was ready to face whatever came next. The doubts, the fears, the uncertainties, they were all still there, but they no longer had control over her. For the first time in a long time, Emma felt like she was truly living, truly moving forward. And as she drifted off to sleep that night, a smile played on her lips. She didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but she was ready for it. And she wasn't alone.